The protest station, the Teapot Built for Revenge, started in Zillah, Washington, 1922, with the only gas station in history built as a political attack. That year, America was consumed by the Teapot Dome scandal. The Secretary of the Interior, Albert Fall, had secretly leased the Navy's emergency oil reserves, including a field in Wyoming named Teapot Dome, to private oilmen in exchange for bribes worth over $400,000. Fall would become the first U.S. cabinet member ever sent to prison for a crime in office. And in the Yakima Valley, a man named Jack Ainsworth followed the scandal in the papers and delivered his verdict in the most American way imaginable. He hand-built a gas station shaped like a giant teapot, handle, spout, and all, and started selling gasoline out of it. A petroleum-selling teapot, mocking a petroleum corruption scandal on the side of the highway, forever. The building survived a century, a demolition threat, and even a car crashing into it 5 days before a scheduled move in 1978. Today, it is on the National Register of Historic Places and serves as Zillah's visitor center, quite possibly the longest-running political joke in America. The brand station, the giant seashell. Next, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, in the depths of the Great Depression, where a local oil distributor faced the eternal problem. How do you make drivers choose your pumps? Understand the battlefield first. By 1930, America's roads were exploding with automobiles, and gas stations were multiplying on every corner, all selling an identical, invisible liquid at nearly identical prices. Brand loyalty was the entire game, and companies fought for it with giveaways, uniformed attendants, and architecture. This is the same Golden Age arms race that produced Sinclair's giant dinosaur statues and 1,000 roadside novelties. When the product is identical, the building becomes the advertisement. Winston-Salem's answer skipped signage entirely. In 1930, they began building stations shaped like the product's own logo, giant, bright yellow scallop shells. The shell emblem rendered as a building you could walk into. At least 8 of these concrete shells rose around the city. 7 were demolished as the novelty faded. 1 survived, rescued decades later by a local businessman who ran a lawnmower repair shop out of it, then preserved onto the National Register of Historic Places. It stands today as the last of its species, a building that is a logo, from an era when a brand was something you constructed out of concrete rather than posted online. The mimetic stations, buildings pretending to be things. The teapot and the shell belong to a whole architectural movement with a wonderful name, mimetic architecture, buildings that imitate objects, and its purest gas station expression stands in Powell, Tennessee. In 1930, brothers Elmer and Henry Nickel wanted their new station on the freshly widened highway to be impossible to drive past. Elmer loved airplanes, so they built the station as an airplane. Wings, nose, propeller, a small building you could fuel your car beneath. It worked exactly as intended, and when the fuel business eventually moved on, the airplane simply changed jobs. Over the decades, it has been a liquor store, a produce stand, a bait shop, a used car lot, and a barber shop, protected all the while by locals who refused to let it die. That is the secret power of the mimetic station. Nobody ever demolishes the building shaped like an airplane. It stops being real estate and becomes a landmark, which 95 years later turns out to be the better business model. The War Machine, the $5 bomber. Now the full story from the opening, because every detail is real and every detail is better than the last. Milwaukee, Oregon, February 1947. Gas station owner Art Lacey announces at his birthday party that he is going to mount a surplus B-17 bomber on top of his station as a canopy. A friend bets him $5 it will never happen, which, if you knew Art Lacey, was the one guaranteed way to make it happen. Lacey borrows $15,000, travels to a military airfield in Oklahoma, where hundreds of surplus flying fortresses sit in rows, and buys one for $13,750, despite never having flown anything with more than one engine. He teaches himself by taxiing around with the manual open, takes off with a mannequin strapped into the co-pilot seat, and on landing discovers he needs a second pair of hands for the landing gear. He belly lands, wrecking his bomber and a second one parked on the ground. The disposal officer surveys the wreckage and writes off both aircraft as, official term, wind damage, then sells Lacey a replacement for $1,500. Lacey summons 2 friends who can actually fly a B-17. They barter a case of whiskey for fuel in dry state Oklahoma, hit a blizzard over the mountains, and navigate by dropping low and following the railroad tracks. IFR, they joked. I follow railroads. Home in Oregon, the state refuses him a transport permit, so Lacey cuts the bomber into 4 truckloads and moves it anyway, at midnight, behind hired funeral procession motorcycle escorts, with instructions that if police appeared, the escort riders should peel off in different directions as decoys. The fine for moving a heavy bomber across Oregon without a permit, $10. The bomber went up over the pumps, the customers flooded in, and the station grew into what was reportedly the largest single-volume gas station in America in the 1960s. The aircraft, the Lacey Lady, kept watch over the pumps for almost 70 years until 2014, when it was carefully taken down for restoration to flying condition. One $5 bet, 70 years of Americana, and a warbird saved. The architect's station, Frank Lloyd Wright's only pump. From a bet to a manifesto. Cloquet, Minnesota, 1958. The only gas station ever built from a design by Frank Lloyd Wright, the most famous American architect in history, the mind behind Falling Water and the Guggenheim. For Wright, this was not a small job. A station was a fragment of his utopian vision for a decentralized automobile-age America, and he designed it like a landmark, a cantilevered copper roof floating over the pumps, and, most wonderfully, a glass-walled observation lounge on the second floor, where customers could sit and watch their car being serviced below, because Wright believed even an oil change deserved a view. Built for longtime client Ray Lindholm, the station still pumps fuel today, is still connected to the Lindholm family's legacy, and draws architecture pilgrims from around the world. Same product as every other station on the highway, sold from a building designed like a temple. The designer station, the Danish mushroom. Europe's answer stands on the coast road north of Copenhagen, a petrol station designed in 1936 by Arne Jacobsen, the Danish master whose chairs still furnish half the world's stylish offices. His station is the opposite of the teapots and airplanes. No gimmick, no shape imitation, just a pure white minimalist box, and one unforgettable gesture, a slender column blooming into a floating oval canopy, so clean and futuristic that locals nicknamed it the Mushroom. Nearly 90 years later, it still operates. Still looks like it arrived from a future that never quite came, and is protected as heritage. The American stations of this era screamed for attention, Jacobsen's whispers, and has outlasted almost all of them. The Geology Station, fuel from inside a mountain. In Hanksville, Utah, deep in Red Rock Desert country, stands the station that solves architecture by refusing to have any. Hollow Mountain, a gas station whose convenience store is carved directly into a sandstone hill. The pumps sit outside in the desert sun. The shop, the cooler aisles, and the register sit inside the rock itself, naturally insulated against 100-degree summers, with a doorway blasted into a cliff face. It is the roadside logic of this entire list taken to its final form. If a teapot gets drivers to stop, and an airplane gets drivers to stop, then a doorway into the side of a mountain in the middle of nowhere is unbeatable. There is no billboard on Earth that competes with buying your road snacks inside a geological formation. The engineering dare, the airplane that is a building. And then there is the station that out-airplanes the airplane. Asmara, Eritrea, 1938, the Fiat Tagliero service station, designed by Italian architect Giuseppe Patazzi as a tribute to futurism, the art movement obsessed with speed, machines, and flight. Patazzi did not build a station shaped like a plane. He built a station that performs like one. A central tower with two enormous concrete wings sweeping out on either side, each stretching roughly 15 meters, nearly 50 feet, with no columns underneath. Nothing holds them up but engineering. Local legend claims the authorities demanded support pillars, and that Patazzi, at the unveiling, forced the removal of the temporary props to prove his cantilevers would hold, a story so dramatic it may well have grown in the telling, so treat it as legend rather than record. What is no legend? The wings have hovered there, unsupported, since 1938, through Italian colonial rule, British administration, federation, war, and independence, and the building is now protected as part of Asmara's World Heritage-listed modernist architecture. It is routinely called one of the most beautiful gas stations ever built, and after almost 90 years, its concrete wings have outflown every real aircraft of their generation. So line them up. A teapot built for revenge against a corrupt government. A seashell that is its own logo. An airplane that refused to die for 95 years. A war bomber won with a $5 bet and a midnight smuggling run. Frank Lloyd Wright's only pumps, with a viewing lounge for oil changes. A Danish mushroom from the future. Concrete wings hovering over Africa since 1938, and a store inside a mountain. Every one of them exists because of the same insight, discovered independently by a scandal watcher, two airplane-loving brothers, a stubborn Oregon gambler, and the greatest architects of the 20th century. On the open road, every gas station sells the exact same thing, so the only thing you can actually compete on is wonder. The boring stations sold gas. These sold a reason to stop. And a century later, the boring ones are all demolished and forgotten, while every single station on this list is preserved, protected, and visited by people whose tanks are already full. Wonder, it turns out, was the better fuel. So, your turn. Which one gets your 100-mile detour? The bomber, the teapot, Wright's copper temple, or filling up inside a mountain? Pick exactly one in the comments and defend it in a sentence. And more importantly, tell me the strangest gas station, truck stop, or roadside build in your country, city and name if you have it, because the best answers below become the shortlist for part 2. And speaking of stops that outgrew all reason, there is a truck stop in America with its own dentist, chiropractor, and movie theater, and the story of how it got that big is the next video. Subscribe so you do not miss it. New video every week.